Scorpio, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how that impacts your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. All you have to know to enjoy these videos is your birthday. That's it. Just your birth date, because I will be able to tell you based on your birth date what the corresponding degrees are in the zodiac sign of Scorpio, so that you won't have to wonder how your natal sun is being impacted. I'm going to start really broad with the big stuff that's happening and basically the general feeling or mentality of this week, and then I will focus things down into Scorpio specific energy and what is going on that Scorpios should be aware of, and then I'll break things down into the decans. A decan is a group of 10 degrees, and every zodiac has 3 of them, and by doing this I'll be able to understand how your natal suns are being impacted by other planets based on the angles that they form and what aspects come out of those angles. So we'll talk about it. Scorpio, we just had a huge new moon, and it was I don't know, like I except for maybe new moon eclipses, and not even, I think this new moon has farther reaching energy because of what happened and what was happening while it was happening. So first of all, we have a new moon in Cancer, and that just is already something being born, something being birthed, a new life. But since it's in opposition to Pluto, this is a game-changing life. This is a life that breaks the old and starts the new. So this is our ego redefined and recreated. And the duality between Cancer and Capricorn, where all this is happening, because Capricorn is in Pluto and the Cancer was where the new moon is happening, or happened, really is almost magnifying the fact that the nodes are changing. And this is all happening square to the nodes. So the nodes are shifting from Scorpio to Libra, from Taurus into Aries, from fixed into cardinal, which we should not talk about, right? Because that means from trying to keep things the same to shaking it up and doing something and taking action, and everything. A lot of the aspects that are happening this week really support that energy push of taking action. Just like not even knowing where you're going or needing to know where you're going, even just like throwing caution to the wind. But it's not because we're nonsensical or even impulsive. It's because we've been stuck for too long, and we're getting to the point where we don't need the answers or the data. We're kind of sick of it. We just need something new, and that is reconnecting us to our leaps of faith. Cardinal signs know all about it, because the one thing we do consistently is move stuff along. So what is the big stuff that's happening this week? Like I said, we just came out of that nodal shift, and now the path, right? So the sun and the new moon were in opposition to Pluto in Cancer, Capricorn, respectively. And then the nodes shifted into the other 2 cardinal signs, which is South Node Libra, or the South Node shifted into Libra, and the North Node shifted into Aries, which highlights the path and the duality between partnership and the self, singularity. They're not actually, the North and South Node are not detached. They're not 2 different things. They're one path. They're demarcations of the same path, which means we are looking to balance these things. We're looking to balance partnership with singularity, and that balancing point is childhood versus adulthood. Let's get into it, shall we? The biggest transit this week is that the sun is going to transit into Leo. We're going to start Leo season, which puts it at a natural square to some of you, which we'll get into. Yeah, it's on the 23rd. We start Leo season. The sun shifts between the 22nd and 23rd. It shifts into Leo. Also on the 23rd, there's a big thing that happens. Venus goes into retrograde. What does that mean? I mean, we all know Leo season is like summertime. Sun goes back into its domicile. It's happy. It's its kingdom. This is the king on its throne, right? But Venus is all retrograde suddenly. And honestly, I think it's a necessary retrograde. There is an understanding here that there's value we've left behind, that there is value we've missed, and we got to review and understand what the heck we have been deciding is valuable. And this retrograde is really going to push us into that reckoning. Lots of interesting stuff going on this week. Also on the 22nd, by the 22nd, Mars trines Jupiter, which we will talk about that. But I will say this, success and opportunity comes through action. This is the week where you're supposed to take action, because it's going to lead, any kind of action that you take during this under this beautiful aspect it's going to work. So that's what I'm trying to talk about. That is very cardinal kind of energy, that sense of I'm just going to move forward and figure this shit out, right? But also on the 22nd, this is really kind of important. The moon will be in opposition to Neptune on the 22nd. And on the 22nd, there is a grand trine. Now, there's a grand square. That's that pressure point between Pluto and the sun and the nodes, grand square. That's been around for a while, for a couple weeks. But this grand trine only happens for a while, and it's an Earth grand trine. It happens when the moon is in Virgo in the third decan of Virgo, which trines it to Uranus and Capricorn. And it also puts it in opposition to Neptune. Now, moon opposite Neptune is, oh my God, you fall for anything. So this could be a day when it's really easy to get swindled or really easy to swindle somebody, depending on which side you are. Our reality isn't fulfilling to us. We want to escape. So that could be sort of the the catalyst to making us say, throw caution to the wind, say, fuck it, let's just do it. And it's almost like, even though it has like deceptive undertones, maybe it's this self-deception that we actually need to get out of this real overall deception, that we're okay staying where we are. So in some ways, it's using Neptune very productively, this energy. Mars is still opposition to Saturn. Saturn is still semi-square to Chiron, which makes us really frustrated. We're resentful, we're angry, we're so sick of the laws, rules, regulations, restrictions, and obligations that are legitimately just tying us down and hurting us by not letting us move forward. Kind of sick of it. And I said even last week, this is the we're not going to take it. Hello, twisted sister. Like this kind of energy of we're not going to take it anymore. Something's got to give, even inside ourselves. Everybody always thinks it's external. No, astrology is a study of the internal. Who the hell are you? Right? To the point where we get so fed up, we're just not going to take it anymore. Because something is absolutely got to give. North node is trine to Venus and South node is sextile to Venus, while Venus is in retrograde. And Venus will stay in that position for a while because it's in retrograde. That's real interesting, don't you think? How this retrograde is kind of trying to find advancement on our life path and help us with that balance between partnership and singularity. And then we also have Venus conjuncting Mercury by the 23rd. And in Venus in retrograde, what kind of conversations are we having? Good news or information that comes through based on value or worth or somebody's feelings? This is just stuff that's needed to be said, needed information that's needed to be discovered. Remember, both them motherfuckers are in Leo, which means they're blunt, they're straightforward, they're out there, they're on the up and up. They want to be seen. So this is stuff that wants to be seen and maybe hasn't been able to be seen. Let's get into Scorpio specific energy, huh? Now for Scorpio specific energy, let's go get your hat. Go get your hat on my website, www.bornwithoutboundariestarot.com, because they're so cute. They're available in white too, black and white. With my rainbow. I love my rainbows. You just call me an 80s girl, honey. Lisa Frank all the way. I love rainbows. I look at what's going on in the zodiac sign of Scorpio, and I look at what's going on with its ruling dignitaries, and I count them as two, because there's no way. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. Pluto was just kind of recently discovered in terms of history, relatively speaking. So there's no way Mars just stopped impacting Scorpio. In no way, because you can tell by Scorpios. Scorpios are the most masculine of the feminine water energies. They're aggressive and they're sexual. And that comes from Mars, baby. That comes from Mars. So, I mean, you could argue Pluto, no, the hidden shady stuff comes from Pluto. The toxic stuff comes from Pluto. Scorpio, what's going on in the zodiac sign of Scorpio? Nothing. The nodes have moved. The nodes have shifted. It happened on the 17th. So there's not even the south node in Scorpio anymore. So that's good. That's good. Okay? But what's happening with your ruling dignitaries? Well, Mars and Pluto are both highly active. So Mars is an opposition to Saturn, quincunx to Chiron, which means, oh my God, it is frustrated. It is so sick of being victimized and being in pain and wants to do something about it. And this trine to Jupiter is going to give it its shot. And it's not going to be thinking, it's just going to be acting. We also have Pluto. Now, Pluto, still in Capricorn, retrograde, right? It's square the nodes and opposite the sun all week long, trine to Uranus and sextile to Neptune. And that already tells me it's the rise of the freak. It's the rise of the surprise. It's like we don't want to be predictable, and we don't want to be hidden anymore. We don't want to be ashamed anymore. But we do need to keep our egos in check. Because everything with Pluto involves dharma. If you don't pay for it in this lifetime, you'll pay for it in the next. So what are we setting up for our future generations by what we knock down and decide to rebuild in its place? Those are larger issues. What's going on with the decans? Now, like I said, a decan is a group of 10 degrees. And every zodiac sign has a total of 30 degrees. So there's 3 decans in every zodiac sign. That 10 degree sort of range is what makes or breaks an aspect. And an aspect is the relationship, the energy that's formed between two planets based on the angle that sits between them, that they're forming between their 2 points, right? So what is that angle? Well, Scorpio ones, if your natal sun is between 0 and 9 degrees Scorpio, it is in the first decan of Scorpio, your Scorpio ones. This correlates to October Scorpios pretty much, anywhere from October 22nd through, say, the 31st. Definitely Halloween babies, and definitely Libra cuspers. Great week for getting it done is what I wrote down. Your natal suns are conjunct to the south node still. This is cusps only, even though it's moved into Libra. If you're on the cusp of Libra, so that would be like the 22nd, maybe the 23rd, you guys are still conjunct the south node. You are sextile to Mars. And since Mars is trine to Jupiter, you better believe this is the time to take action. You're square to Pluto cusps. If you're at the cusp, you're square to Pluto, which means any action you take will be very formidable, and you'll be able to intimidate the crap out of people this week, if you need to. Quincunx to Neptune means there's some sort of frustration or distortion, or things are foggy or clear, unclear. But you know what? Honestly, it's also a trigger to creativity. And that's been long term. It's this square to the sun that's really going to get you agitated enough to say, I gotta figure stuff out. I gotta change this ego in me. I gotta change what's seen and what's not seen. I I got to figure this out, because honestly, you could be butting heads with a lot of egos, or you could just be having trouble feeling confident in your own this week. So I think it is just taking action that is your course of action this week. Mars is in Virgo. So it's about taking action in written form or taking action in education. These are the two things. Or it's just starting a process, right? Starting maybe a new job, new work, or healing process, but something that you're going to be dedicated to cultivate for a while, especially with that Mars trine to Jupiter. That sense of anything you start now is going to work out real well. Let's go on to Scorpio 2. Scorpio 2s. If your natal sun is somewhere between 10 and 19 degrees Scorpio, you are Scorpio 2s. You guys, your natal suns are in opposition to Jupiter. So there is an excitability here, an overreaction kind of energy here. It's also square to Mercury. There's a lot of shit talking going on for you guys. So watch out, because if anything, you would be the crew that might get swindled or bamboozled this week. Opposition to Jupiter means somebody could easily play on your ego. Easily play by just pumping you up and saying, hey, it's easy. You could get it right now, right? You could get it right now. You don't have to exercise. Just take this powder. Okay, sure. You know? And your Mercury square to your sun means it's like your own little Mercury retrograde. Just communications aren't working right. Your brain's not making the best decisions. It's making impulsive decisions this week. So you could really, really be vulnerable to buying into crap. So watch yourself. And it's like, especially if something's trying to play onto your ego, somebody's trying to manipulate you. I'm just letting you know, because I know you'd want to know. So Scorpio 3s. If your natal sun is between 20 and 29 degrees Scorpio. So that means birthdays that are between, say, November 11th and the 21st, maybe the 22nd. That would be you guys, Scorpio 3s. Your natal suns have been in a long-term opposition to Uranus, but because Uranus is really kind of activated this week, they're sextile to Pluto and they're trine to Neptune, and all of these planets are interacting to create an absolute shocker of a surprise situation. Even surprising yourself and what you're capable of. And what maybe you've tried to defy or get away from or not see, but like those parts of you that you don't want to be predicted. You don't want the predictable. So this week, this square to Venus is going to really excite or challenge the value system decisions you've made in the past. There could be some conflict when it comes to money. There could be some challenge when it comes to the way you look or decisions you've made about your looks, or challenges to your intimate partnerships. All of these challenges are trying to bring something to your attention. And what I think that is there are parts of you that need to be honored. And it's time for change. And maybe this resistance to independence and individuality has really gotten in your way of what you could be completely capable of. And so if you see resistance, or, your checkbook not where you want it to be for whatever reason, this sense of look at your partnerships, look at what you've settled for, and what changes do you have to make. So please let me know in the comments below how all this energy is impacting you. And definitely subscribe to Astrology Motivation so we grow over here. And then come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot and enjoy your week ahead message for Scorpio. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.